Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Jarrell Miller is back, so he's gone 10 rounds in Argentina with the journeyman Ariel Esteban Bracamonte, and it was a so-so performance, but after 3.5 years and change out of the ring, well, what could you expect, especially in the shape that Jarrell Miller showed up in, 341 pounds. So in this video, I'll talk briefly about the fight because there's a couple of things just to sort of note, but most of the rounds were the same. It was relatively competitive, Miller getting the best of the action and winning it wide on the cards. And then I want to get into a comment from Miller himself, posted to social media, and then the what next, because Jarrell Miller is one of these Marmite type characters, love him or hate him, but certainly people are interested to see what happens. I think a lot of people just want to see the Pied Piper of boxing beaten, and that seems to be a sentiment. One of the things that was quite noticeable in the build-up to this fight, which was announced at short notice, 3 or 4 days, was the interest that people had in that return, and especially once he weighed in at 341 pounds. So that's got people talking, and people want to see what he's doing, how he's going, and the what next. And is he going to get banged out by someone, or is he somehow going to sign a promotional deal somewhere to get with a bigger promoter to get some bigger fights? So we'll talk about some of that stuff. But the fight itself, 10 rounds, Miller wins it wide. It wasn't a fantastic performance, but after all that time out of the ring, it probably wasn't going to be. As I said ahead of the fight, this had rounds written all over it because Ariel Esteban Bracamonte is durable. Despite the record, he is a guy that does, have durability. He's gone tough, solid rounds against guys like Dave Allen and a bit of a war with Allen. And Miller's not a big puncher. Throws a lot of arm punches, and that was another sort of signature in this fight. But he's not a one-punch guy. Previously, he's relied on pressure and volume. And those two things were certainly lacking. Actually, I guess what I would say about how this fight reminded me of was that Allen and Bracamonte fight from, 3 or 4 years ago. Except Bracamonte was grossly out of shape, over 300 pounds compared to when he fought Allen. He was significantly lighter. And then you had Jarrell Miller, also a shape round. 341 pounds, easily a career highest, coming off all that inactivity. I thought that he was probably going to go out there, get some rounds, look a bit pedestrian. That's effectively what we had. Without the pressure and the volume game, which he didn't bring in this fight really at all, Miller was pedestrian. He got hit a lot in a pretty competitive fight. He just happened to do a little bit more work than Bracamonte, and Bracamonte did actually sort of fade a little bit in the second half of the fight. Jarrell Miller did land some decent body shots and uppercuts at times. A lot of arm punches, as I mentioned. He just had a bit more than Bracamonte. But I know some people will say he was going at life and death with a journeyman, but he was getting rounds in, and he looked like he was managing his energy and activity. He wasn't pushing himself too hard, and that's kind of what I expected, especially rolling in at 341 pounds. But he was slow, he was plodding, he was hittable, he was getting hit a lot. And I guess when you don't have that pressure and volume game like you did before, especially on display, it kind of reminded me that sort of element when he tried to box with Bogdan Dinu. He'd said ahead of that fight he was going to try rely on his boxing a bit more. But Dinu, the better boxer with better boxing acumen, was picking him off, and then Miller just went into, stuff it, I'll just bring my volume and pressure game and grind you into the dust, which is what he did. But he never flicked that switch in this one, because I don't think he probably thought he could because of the weight. And hopefully, presumably as well, he's off the performance-enhancing substances. But, I mean, who knows? But after the fight, you had Miller on social media saying this.
Of course, I wanted a knockout, but hey, been on for a couple years. Homie was ready. He came to bang. And all boys and girls, this is a perfect example of why you don't take nobody for granted and look at somebody record and then they're going to come and lay down. Trust me, I expected the unexpected, and it happened. From 1 to 10, I give my performance a solid 4. I did that on a 3-week camp at Chick-fil-A. Yo, thanks everybody that supported. We're working our way back. Thank you to my boy Jose Guzman for coming out last minute and helping me out. Man, listen, man, we're trying to get back in there with the next 2 weeks. So listen, tune in. Big Baby's back. Hard work, dedication, cheeseburger. Oh yeah, and I'm still looking pretty.
So it's clear to me that they're looking to build a little bit of momentum with Miller and his return. This one here happened at 3 or 4 days' notice, and I mean, I don't think a lot of us had caught up with the fact that the Triller card that he was originally announced on a month or two ago had fallen over. So him coming back in a far-flung place like Argentina, at a WBA sort of sponsored event called, Knockout Drugs, all that sort of stuff, massive dollops of irony there. It drew interest, and especially when he hit the scales and he was huge. People were like, wow, okay, what's going on here? What's he going to look like? Is he going to gas out? Is he going to have a heart attack? How's he going to look? How's he going to go? And it was, he says, a performance worthy of a 4. And that's not out of the realms of, I think, what is actually realistic. Compared to his previous self, where he was 25-ish pounds lighter, coming forward, grinding people into the dust. Yeah, this wasn't a knock on it, but 3.5 years out of the ring, I guess, what do you expect? So his promoters, Dimitri Salita, Greg Cohen, co-promote him. They will be wanting to get him active and into something bigger and better sooner rather than later. Remembering these long-suffering promoters lost out when Miller lost out on millions of dollars versus Joshua, and then obviously that Jerry Forrest fight, they were looking to recoup some of the monies that they should have been getting from the earlier Joshua fight. That obviously never happened. So they'll want to make some bank off him because they've lost out too. And they will probably look to try to land a fight somewhere, be it maybe try to relink up with Triller, maybe the PBC, Top Rank. I mean, if Miller can start getting into shape, he's fighting regularly, he's starting to look like the Miller of old. I mean, that's a question mark in itself, if you know what I mean. But someone will take a chance on him. Just like after the whole Joshua situation, Top Rank eventually picked him up, took a chance on him. Someone will do that at some time. Boxing has a short memory. Miller, who's a character, he brings energy to the heavyweight division. He's voluntarily wanting to be the bad guy. He is like Marmite. People either love him or hate him. Someone will take a chance, and he will look to get paid. His promoters will want to build him back up to the point where they can try to get him in a big fight, cash him out, even if he's going to get beaten, even if he is now clean. I mean, who knows? That's obviously a massive question going forward. But they're going to want to make sure he's in fights, and meaningful fights, to get paid. And actually on the weight thing, because it could have been worse. I mean, Joey DeVaco had actually said on social media that, believe it or not, 341 pounds for Jarrell Miller actually ain't bad. His highest career weight was 315. Actually, I think it was 317. And he says the last time I seen him, he was probably 400 pounds. So I guess, maybe 341, perhaps that was actually a weight that Miller getting down to was, did well in getting to. And it's been a talking point, something that they've been playing on, they'll build off, and I'm sure he's going to want to hold our interest. And given it's a little bit quiet and dire in the heavyweight division in terms of action and fights more broadly, there seems to be a lot of news around, but not a lot happening. So Miller's return has sort of filled a little bit of a void, and if he's fighting regularly, people will want to watch him just to see if he's any good, if he's going to get beat. If he's clean, will he be knocked out? But I guess it depends on the opponent. But certainly he's going to go nowhere fast if he stays up at 340 odd pounds. So I expect he will come down, and if he's going to be effectively on a continuous camp for a while, if he's fighting every 2 to 4 to 6 weeks, something like that, he'll probably end up bottoming out somewhere around 300-ish, somewhere there or thereabouts. If he needs those extra substances, which he's been proven to have taken before, he'll get caught again, because clearly he's not the smartest doper. The Pied Piper has been caught a number of times now, and he needs to really watch what he's doing. At least he needs to get better at it if he's going to continue. I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. A lot of these guys will no doubt be doing it. They're just better than Miller at doing it. But Jarrell Miller, he's back. Who knows where he'll be going, what his prospects are. But he is a character. There is a place for him in the heavyweight division. And some people are not going to like it, but they're probably going to be hoping that he fails and be watching at the same time. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.